Oh, that's how he is good at crowd work, I feel, because he's very patient, right? So yes, we are live now. I feel yes, we are live. So, we can start again. Should we start again, or say sorry for the mishap first? I'll check the audio
Yes.
by until then again.
Yeah. Please do check the audio. Until then, I'll try to give one more intro for Jim. Maybe this time I'll do justice. So, we have Jim here, veteran stand-up comedian from Boston. He is 6'6", and although the stream does not show, no, I mean stream does not show he is 6'6", but he is, and he is Irish American, and he is known as Boston's king of crowd comedy. He had released a special called Nothing Special 4 years ago, which dry bar changed to the world's best crowd comedian. Although he doesn't like the title, it was not his wish, but I believe after seeing his special, it is uh, you it is quite up there. And what else? Yes, he has written a book called Embedded Comedian, which is his stint in doing comedy at the war front, where he we are able to do this.
Yes, yes. Everything is
Awesome.
working fine now.
Yeah. So it is about his. Is it accurate to say Embedded Comedian is a memoir for your performances in Afghanistan, Iraq, Bosnia, and Kosovo over a period of 30 days? And
Yeah, it's a tour we took. It was 30 days. We started in Bosnia and Kosovo and Sarajevo, and then we went to Kyrgyzstan. We actually got stuck in Kyrgyzstan. We couldn't get
oh
out of
my
there,
goodness, oh my
and then we
goodness.
shipped all our winter gear back to Boston, and then we flew down to Iraq. So it was just kind of, and then like 2 years later, we did the same tour over again, and that time we did make it into Afghanistan, to Bagram, and
Oh
so.
my
But
goodness.
yeah.
Wow.
And,
So was
and
India the part of this tour as well when you were doing this? When you came to India, or it was different from that? Okay.
no,
Yeah,
it was
that was a much different thing. That was done. I don't know the year exactly. Let me see if I could see what
uh,
time. That was
I'm
2019 that I did the tour of
Right.
India.
Yeah, it was 19.
Yep. And which
and
we owe thanks to Vinayak Pal, who booked that thing. And I didn't think he's so funny, because he said, "Jim, if I could book a tour of India, would you go?" And I went, "Yeah, sure, whatever, yeah." And I thought, he's not gonna book it in India. There's no way. Then he goes, "Oh, Jim, I got it all set." I go, "What's all set?" He goes, "A tour of India." I said, "Oh no, I'm going to India." Now what? It's a
this
lot.
And he was
we are
really young
going.
at that time. I think he was 18 or 19 only at that time when he came to India.
Yeah, he worked both ends against the middle to make that deal come together, because at 6'6", he had me a coach, like the middle seat. Like, I was lucky I could walk by the time I got there,
Oh my
But
goodness.
anyway, it was an adventure.
Let's talk about uh, now. You are a crowd. Yes, you are good at crowd work, and you are modest about it. But I'm curious. The crowd work when you do in Boston, you have certain shortcuts to make people laugh. And once, when this is not working, you know for sure that some bit will work, some stereotypes will work, some of the jokes will work. Uh, when you change the whole country, and now you're performing to the crowds of India, where you may not have had the privilege of earlier experience. How did you adapt to the people?
Well, first I'll start with this. Like, a lot of times, first of all, in Boston, it was not a real. People didn't look up to crowd work acts when I started doing it. None of the big headliners wanted me to do that in front of them. So
Hmm.
it's something that just kind of grew, because I think I have attention deficit disorder or something. If somebody was wearing a shiny watch, it would attract me, and I go, "What's your name?" You know, like so. I almost couldn't help it. But one of a lot of it's funny after COVID suddenly. I think with the rise of Matt Rife, who a lot of people would say is the world's greatest, I think probably, crowdwork comedian. There's a lot of them. Ian Bagg is unbelievable.
I think
There's a
even
guy,
after
Jimmy Brogan.
Andrew
I mean, there's
Schultz
so
as
many great. It's hard as I would not. Anyway, but what I was driving at is like a lot of comedians started asking me, and I was like, "Why do you want to learn how to do crowdwork?" It's something I kind of developed over a long period of time. But one of the secrets of crowdwork that most young upcoming comedians do not want to hear is doing a lot of writing helps your crowdwork. Jimmy Brogan was the head writer for the Tonight Show in the States, which was the big late night show, or one of the big late night shows. And he was there for the whole run of the show, head monologue writer. And so how much writing does that guy do? More than any of us, more than all of us.
Oh yeah.
But he is also known as one of the best crowdwork guys in the country. And it's the discipline of writing over and over again, setups and punchlines and setups and punchlines and setups and punchlines. So it's this thing of, I don't know, you guys don't remember the old game Tetris, but like, like seeing how things fit and how, and so that's, if it's not a shortcut, but it's a better path to crowdwork. The more writing will never hurt you in any aspect of your stand-up comedy. There's no enough material, and there's no enough honing those muscles. So that's my advice. When you ask about India, I think we did a show. Our first show was in Mumbai, and it was kind of a rough show. It was we were in a small club, and they didn't know we were coming, so we just set up for people who didn't know there was a comedy show coming. But the whole time I was there, you even mentioned this, I was writing. Like, what can I notice? What's something that I think is funny about the city I'm in, or like we think our traffic is bad in Boston. I got one of those. What are those little motorized rickshaws? What do they call those?
Rickshaws.
Until you had some guy drive you up on the sidewalk to go around a traffic jam. I don't know how many kilometers that is, but it's like 50 miles an hour. Like you're like, I kind of like to get there alive. That'd be a goal of mine. You're like, this is crazy. But
yeah, I remember you writing a lot of, like, you were writing the jokes, and I was still very young at that time, like new to the scene. So I was just observing you, and I was like, okay, he's writing it, but I don't think he would do it when he goes up on the stage. I would see his real material. I was in that zone. Like, okay, he's just writing. He's come here. He doesn't want to talk to us. He's a big comic, so he's just writing.
No. It's and also
you stage and you did all
you guys
those
talk.
jokes.
You guys talk like we see you on your YouTube page, and we see you on Instagram or whatever, and your crowdwork is great. It is great, but I'm not putting up the stuff that doesn't work. So it's like when someone puts a meal up, it's a good meal. They don't put a rotten meal up there, So I mean, I do a lot of it, and I do enough that the more you do it, the more you do anything, the better you get at it, and that's it's not the answer people want to hear, but it's true. It's true.
I love that answer. Also, at the same time, I would disagree that you are not putting up the things that are not working. I would say that you are not putting up things, even the ones that are working, just because internet and social media is a grind that you were not, it was not there when you were there. Otherwise, you would have gotten used to this grind as well.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's funny. I think the top video I have on my YouTube page is a guy that I'm talking to him, and he's giving me nothing back. He's just staring at me. And then I just say, let's just agree we're not going to be friends. So I lead with that. It's like, and everybody laughs because it's the truth in that moment. So that's another thing. If something's happening and we're all sitting in the same room together, we're all human beings. We all know this guy hates him. Like, and
Yes.
that's funny. It's funny. It's, I tell you, you guys are both comedians, and tell me if this is not true, that when your best friend is up there doing comedy and you see him doing something new and it doesn't work, that's the funniest thing you'll
Yeah,
ever
that's
see,
right.
because the look on their
Yes.
face, you empathize
Yes.
with that, and it's hilarious to watch your good friend
Right.
bomb up there.
Yes.
You
I
know
mean,
they're funny. You know that it's not every time, but you go, wow, he really just got punched in the stomach.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. It's,
his eyes roll up. A friend of mine, brilliant comedian, his eyes start rolling up when the jokes don't land, and he's
yeah.
frustrated. He does not know in the moment what needs to be done to make the person in front of him happy or respond to him, and it's just so much fun to see that.
this
Sometimes,
happened with me as well recently. Like so, at I have I own a room in this Delhi. It's called Depot 48. So it's a basically jazz club where we do comedy on
Oh,
Mondays.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great place to perform. So one day, and but it's really hard place to perform as well because people are there drinking and there's so much, distraction there at the time of performing. So a lot of comics come
Yeah.
there very, and then they don't kill and they do really bad, and then like it's known for that, that it's not a good easy room. And one day I was performing
Yeah.
and the lights were really strong, like maybe it was just the march of time of March and the winter was slowly going back, and the spring season was coming, and I wore something like this. I was on stage and I was tagging so hard, I
I like
started
that, by the way.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So I started sweating on the stage, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have wore this jacket." I was all the time I was like this, like I shouldn't have wore this jacket. This is so hot. How? So I tanked totally, and then I went off the stage, and there was this comic Manik, and he was like, "Huh." Nah, of course you are feeling the heat. You tanked so hard. Yeah, it was not the jacket. It
Yeah,
was the
you can see
performance.
that's global. You're doing
Yeah.
comedy, you see the flop sweat on the forehead. You're like, well, this guy's in
Right.
trouble. Your throat starts to
yes.
tighten up. You're starting to talk a little bit. I hope I can get this next joke out. And every one of us does that. Every one of us, in the States, one of the funnest times, I think, is when we meet up after the show. We talk about the shows that go bad are funnier stories than the ones that go good. No one wants to hear about the good show you did.
Right.
We're much too envious to hear that story. We want to hear about.
The worst is when you do bad and the comedian that comes just afterwards. He's also trying his new material and his destroys. And
Yeah.
at that point, you know that you are the bottleneck for the universe's happiness. So
Yeah.
it is bad. People treat you like you're an invisible person. I've had people
Yeah.
thanking the person behind me like this. So yeah, it was
Yeah, that we
bombing
all talk
expert.
about that. Like, you're standing at the front door and there's somebody who did great, and you didn't do so great. And they go to the guy, "You're so funny. You're the best." And they look at you and they say nothing and they just
No.
walk.
Yeah. Yeah, especially after the show. So we
Shame,
have
shame,
sometimes
shame.
we have these
Like
comics as well.
you personally drove out there to ruin their evening. That's what your
Yes.
plan was. I'm gonna get up this morning. I'm gonna go to the club and I'm gonna ruin
The
300 people's evening.
Uh,
we
That's my
don't get
goal.
300 people here, by the way, but like so this happens a lot here, sometimes when someone does good and the show ends, so he won't go to the green room, he would just go outside where the exit is and just start smoking a cigarette, so people would recognize him that he was the guy who killed at the show. And most of the times, and when we're not doing, we just ran off, like we don't show the face, like don't even
I
remember.
got one of my great compliments when I was touring in India. I was in Calcutta. I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
And
that's
they
correct.
had a they had a I want to get this guy. I'm not Arnaban Gupta was there.
Anirban
He's
Das
very.
Gupta. Yeah, he's very
Oh
Did I say
yeah,
it right?
yeah,
He's
yeah,
yeah,
very,
yeah,
very
yeah.
funny.
yeah.
It
Very, very
is.
funny.
He is
He's very famous
amazing.
right
Yes,
now as well.
he's very, very funny, and he does
Yeah,
great crowd work too, by the way, if
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
correctly. So
Yes.
he was wonderful, and he was very funny. I got one of my best compliments there because there were some Indian comedians there that came to see the show, and
Mm-hmm.
after the show, one of the comedians said to me, he says, "Well, I always like to come out and see American acts because I like to watch them bomb." He says, "But you actually didn't bomb. You were funny." And I was like, "There's a compliment in there somewhere." And I love that kind of compliment because it's so sincere. Like, he didn't really think he was going to like me. And begrudgingly, he did.
I mean,
This happened with a
it
lot of
does.
comics when you were here. This happened with a
What's
lot of
that?
this happened with a lot of comics when you were here. Like, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah, because they all thought that it would be like no one would understand your language, your references, right? But you were there, like now you just started doing it, and I think you did a great job at the Mumbai show as well. Like where the room was the toughest room, I feel that you would have gotten to now in the whole India.
Yeah, I
It
would
was a,
agree. Yeah, that was.
yeah.
I said this is going to be the longest week of my life over here, but thank goodness none of these people. I'm going back to the States, so they won't tell anyone I know. I want to be on the other side of the world when I bomb like that. Let's hope nobody videotaped it.
I mean, even Bill Burr had some tough time while performing in India. I mean, I'm not saying
Bill Burr?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
was
Bill's from Boston too. Bill, I know Bill.
yes,
And I was actually thinking of mentioning he's very good at crowd work, and and one of the things too about him. Another thing, I don't know why I don't want to get stuck on the crowd work thing, but he's fearless, and
Yeah.
you got to be fearless. You got to try the new stuff. It's the hardest thing to do, but man, when you try something new and it works, you feel so good. You're like your whole
yes,
day. Forget about the stuff you already know works. You don't even care
yeah.
about that. You're driving home and you're walking home, however you get home. And you're like, man, I got that new thing and it works. And now I feel like I've did something. I moved ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really that's what it's all about. And Bill is famous for that. I mean, he's always been fearless. He's always working up the new material. Because believe it or not, it gets easy to over a number of years to develop a 45-minute set that will always work. But if you
Right.
don't keep changing it,
Right.
you got to
Eventually
Yeah.
keep
gets
growing.
stale.
You got to keep make it exciting for you and for the because we all get that thing right before you try a new thing. You're okay, here we go, and you're back there. Here it comes. Right, here's the pitch, and then right over. Well,
Yeah.
Oh my
I need to work on that a little more.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure I'm digressing from the topic, but can we do a little bit of Bill Burr appreciation for now? I've been trying to study Bill Burr's comedy here. And yes, I've been trying to write set up punchlines, but it seems like Bill Burr has reached to a stage where setups and punchlines are not immediately obvious. There is no turn of phrase in his jokes. For instance, there's a joke of his where he's telling that documentaries, everybody loves them, right? We watch them, we have fun, we tell it to people, they think we read. And, sorry, I'm trying to copy his cadence as well. So,
Send that to Bill. Send you doing his impression. He'll definitely put that
he has seen enough of his impressions. And in this bit of thing, like documentaries, everybody loves them.
You should do a character, Bill Burr in Hindi.
I
I think that's a
probably
funny idea. And send it to him.
I'll do.
You have to shave your head though first. He's got the head for it.
Yeah, I can do
We've
that.
we've got eyes. There's in this particular joke, like documentaries, we love them, we see them, we like them, we repeat it to people, they think we read. Now there is no turn of phrase. It's just statement of truth, and it is so funny. And I'm not sure how he is pulling it off. And I've been trying to see every sort of special of his on figuring out how is he crafting these sentences. It is not even act out. I don't know. It has. I mean, yeah. Please,
Well,
please, please.
he's just thinking I don't know because he's a much more famous and successful comedian than I am. I mean, by by 10 miles.
Yeah.
So I would like to learn how he does his comedy too. Believe me. But I think it never hurts to be writing. And like I remember I saw Chris Rock once saying, no matter how you do your comedy, jokes have punchlines. They have exaggerations. They have
Yes.
surprises. So
Yeah.
it might not be, three guys going to a bar, but it's like, there's something at the end of the premise is a funny idea. They're already smiling and
Yes.
enjoying you. And then at the end of the sentence, there's a twist or an exaggeration or something that is maybe, and maybe the power in his is that it's truthful. Like we all go,
Mm.
yeah, I kind of thought of that. I never really, now that you mention it, what
Right.
is going on with that? Why did I say so? Like
Yeah.
that's true.
Like with Chris Rock jokes, you always have this image. Yeah, white people are weird. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah, yes,
His
yes,
joke.
correct. Right, right.
Yeah.
And the
So,
amazing thing is, I don't have a toaster at home, and I've never had a toaster at home in India here. But when Bill Burr gets angry on a toaster, I feel angry as well, and I'm wondering at myself, why am I getting angry with his rage? So it's amazing the way he
Right.
think, way does it. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
please continue, Rahul.
He's
yeah,
great.
like there are other like Boston comedy scene. It has so many like great comics, right? Like
Yeah.
Bill Burr and like I think Louis C.K. was also from there.
Yep.
Yep, and
Yep.
who else? Who else? I don't. I just remember these two people actually.
Oh,
Patrice
oh, oh, my.
O'Neill and
Patrice O'Neill, yeah, Patrice O'Neill as well. Opie Anthony
yeah,
used to be,
and older, and older with Stephen Wright and Bobcat Goldthwait and
yeah.
Paula
Oh,
Poundstone and
by the way, one more thing. Since we are mentioning Boston here, uh, from whatever I'm gleaning from internet here, Boston has a reputation of uh, uh, I'm not sure if it's aggressive, but rather tough audience as well as the comedians as tough as well. And
yeah.
they are always, what's the word for it, yeah? I mean,
Exactly.
bullying comes first, but it's not bullying, but it is
It's like a
the word
Delhi crowd in India.
It's
no,
just the way. It's just the way we communicate. Like my dad would bust your stones if he liked you.
yes,
If he liked
yes.
you, he'd bust your stones. If he didn't like you, he wouldn't say a word. He had
Oh
nothing
my
to do with you.
goodness.
So it's just
Oh
a cultural thing. But I think in Boston, I've always thought it's a big college town, but it's also a big, there's Harvard, and there's all these MIT and Tufts and all the but there's also a big working class, and it's a big sports town. So
Mm,
yes.
I always felt they kind of looked at comedy like a sporting event. So
right.
Oh.
they don't suffer uh, non-performance. They don't suffer sitting through. They're going to yell, "You stink!" Like you better be getting to something funny because they're on the
Mm.
clock. So and you're also, I mean, potentially you're going up after somebody who's very funny, and you're going up before somebody who's very funny. So you got to put on your big boy pants, and you got to.
Wow,
It
that
doesn't
that.
mean you're not trying new stuff. You're not taking
Uh-huh.
chances, but you're trying to, you're trying to. And when I started out, it was a different. I think maybe different, but I really don't know what the younger acts coming up now. With there's a lot of stage time, and
Wasn't there much stage time when you started? Like, how has it
there
changed?
was, yeah, there was. Yep, you get on a couple times a night, and
Oh wow.
you go out every single night and hit a bunch of clubs just trying to get on, trying to get on, trying to get on, and just honing it. And that's the other thing too. I think is there's not a lot of industry like where you're not in Hollywood, you're not in New York City. So by the time a Boston act moves to New York or LA, or in the old days, I don't even know if they do anymore with the internet if they need to. But by the time they would make that move, they're already a monster truck of comedy. They're strong. They're not like
Hmm.
so you walk in there, they think you're the new guy, and you're not the new guy. You're you're the who's this guy.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Now, here's what the curious thing is. When audience is treating even the stand-up as a sport and aggressive sport at that, I'm assuming the most famous, the most liked sport in Boston is football, I believe, where people are tackling each other. And in that comes your joke where you're talking about things that are relatable to families. And how does that aggression not seep into your comedy? When the audience is slightly aggressive and you're not. By the way, by aggression, I'm saying they're just
Oh yeah,
passionate.
but there's also, like I say, there's lots of colleges. There's lots of very white collar, not blue collar, like, is working with your hands. White collar is you're working in an office, right? So lots
Yeah.
of white collar people and lots of people, and they have a very a good meter for funny. Like Stephen Wright
Hmm.
has brilliant jokes, brilliant one line jokes, and Jonathan Katz I would put in that category. And so they'll listen, and if it's a well constructed joke, they're going to respond to it. You don't have to be beating people over the head with stuff, like at the Boston Comedy Festival, we got Emo Phillips coming in. They love Emo Phillips in Boston because
Yeah.
he's an amazing joke writer. He's not from Boston, but they have an appreciation for what he does.
Eh,
Yeah, same here.
I I mean, Emo Phillips is so amazing. At the same time, I have trouble comprehending the crowd which goes by Bill Burr's jokes, where he is ranting. He is not tolerant about anything. And Emo Phillips has this a sort of tone where he's like, I was trying to get lucky under the table. Uh,
I want to do
who
I want
was
to do a podcast with just you doing impressions of American comedians.
these would be bad
It
impressions.
would be a huge hit. I would be a huge hit. Get them
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, you should do the makeup of emo Phillips as well and come in like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, all of these are bad impressions. I'm just
No,
trying
no,
to.
no. It's
Nah,
fine. It's fine.
it's very good actually. I can't do this. Like I can't do any
If I
impressions.
tried to do a Hindi accent right now, I'd be banned from India. They would never let me come back.
No,
Oh
no,
no,
they
man.
won't.
You will have a whole new cash stream,
Yeah. So
income
I had
stream
so
you.
much.
into your business.
I really did have so much fun meeting the comedians over there and
Mhm.
watching them. And it's like I used to work in Ireland every year, and the Irish comedians were so great. And I used to work at
Yeah.
Laughter Lounge over there, and yeah, just different culture. Like in the States, they tend to do a big intro of credits up front, which they don't really do that in Ireland. They just like the audience is like we'll judge if they're funny. You don't have to tell us they're funny. So and I don't care either way. Just I don't even care if you get my name right. After the show, if it goes well, I'll wish you got my name right. But sometimes I'd be glad if you got it wrong.
so like India has a huge market for this thing, like if white people say Hindi, so there are like
Yeah.
multiple white guys in India who are making a great living by doing this. They just pronunciate like all the
Yeah.
Hindi words and their accent, and Indian people love it. Like they would have also told you a lot of things, that say this, or like
Yeah.
yeah, say
Yeah.
some abuse words as well, right? Hencho and all. Like they must have told you.
Well, that's like if you go up to Canada, they have French speaking comedians, and
Yes.
they make a ton of money doing comedy in French
Yeah,
language. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember working up there a lot, and a lot of the guys that made a great living were bilingual,
Oh
so they could do both
yes.
shows.
Yes.
Wonderful actors.
And I've noticed this that whenever I'm trying to write a joke, now I noticed that Jackie Chan, he barely speaks English, but whenever he's sharing his anecdotes, even the people in UK, where the most of the comedy is leaning towards wit rather than any sort of big physical payoff, even they are enjoying Jackie Chan. And for some reason, none of his jokes have punchline. It is mostly ironic situations. And when I'm trying to do jokes in another language, I currently I'm conversant in Hindi and English. But the one language I'm not conversant is called Telugu. I sometimes do jokes in Telugu where I have only functional knowledge. I just know I don't know idioms, I don't know metaphors, I don't know analogies. Now it's just a simple plain sentence, and if that gets a laughter, I know I'm on a firm foundation, and
Well,
I love it.
yeah, in comedy, any like weaknesses can be a strength, because
Yeah,
if you're struggling, they'll lean forward to try to understand you. And that's actually a gift to a comedian, to get a crowd that's trying
Yes.
to listen to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yes.
the microphone doesn't work, and you can, and they go, "Oh, I understand what's happening. I'll
Mm-hmm.
listen harder to what
Right.
he's saying," and
Oh,
that's an
yes.
advantage, not a disadvantage. So, yeah,
Yeah,
It
like
is
even
so
with me
amazing.
as well. Like this is a great disadvantage, but like in jokes, I can do all like so many bad. Like sometimes I'm not doing well, and the crowd would just start making fun of my hairs, and
right.
they would laugh, and then I would start doing that as well. So like
Uh,
these things help actually. All the deep,
Now,
yeah,
let's talk about if it's all right. Can we talk about your trips to all these war zones and how? If you're okay with it, if it is way
Yeah.
too emotional, we can skip over it. But how does one even prepare for people who are constantly in the shadow of death and and how does one I don't know where to even start from writing jokes for them.
Well, okay. So at the begin, I went to, we did a show called the Boston Tea Party in
Hmm.
L.A.
Hmm.
And a bunch of us went out there to have agents and managers look at us. And well, I didn't get a manager, I didn't get an agent, but somebody brought a friend who was booking military tours, and I work pretty clean, so they like clean comedy. So they booked me, and me and Joey Carroll and I think Larry Miles was on that show. He also got some touring. And next thing you know, we're in Bosnia and Kosovo. And the funny thing is, for me, for Crowdwork guy or whatever, you pick up things. They have the funniest jobs in the world because they're not like plumber, carpenter. They're driving a tank, or you might just have a job just filling fuel into generators. You might be a cook, but like you feed 8,000 guys at a time, like, and so any of that stuff is just fodder for comedy. And I will say also that the soldiers are looking for an escape. They want somebody to come out. They want something. And we had the advantage. We're from home, so like comedians. Like I don't. I only went through India once, but I've worked all over the United States. So chances are I've worked somewhere close to their home, or like the other comedian, in this case, Joey Carroll, did a lot of touring with me, and he's worked in cities that I haven't. So if somebody's from Chicago, I've worked at Zany's. Somebody's in Sarasota, Florida, I've worked at McCurdy's. Right. If someone is from New Jersey, Joey Carroll's worked at Catch a Rising Star. So that conversation afterwards is almost as valuable as the show, because they're like, "Oh man, you're in Philadelphia. Have you ever had the steak and cheese over there, or whatever? Whatever the big sandwich is." Yeah, we eat meat over here, and so whatever it is, or pizza or tacos or whatever it is. So there's a lot of advantages, and we, it's amazing to go to your comedy show in a Black Hawk helicopter.
oh yeah,
It's pretty exciting. And they lower you down. They fly you down into a base, and you run under the blades, and
mm-hmm. Yeah, so
it's like
were there like how many comics were there with you, or like were there any
those
other?
tours were in general. I used to host the Battle of the Bands every year in Germany, but uh, those tours, most of my touring was just two people, and that's why they liked comedians, because we don't need much equipment. We just need a
Right.
backpack,
Uh-huh.
and
Yes.
two people can just hold their backpack and run in, or however they bring us around,
Mm-hmm.
and try to use whatever sound. Sometimes we didn't have sound, sometimes we did. Usually we did, but
So
sometimes you're on a truck bed, sometimes you're just standing there, a bunch of guys standing around. I say guys, but guys and gals, whoever the
Ah,
military units that
no,
are
no,
there.
no country singers with you.
What?
No country
country
singers.
singers,
So I
No
imagine
regret?
no country singers
singers,
like
musicians,
the country songs that
musicians.
musicians. So
Uh,
country songs. How do I
it's all it's okay, it's okay. So I'm surprised though, the people who were taking you to perform for soldiers, the main criteria was that you were a clean comedian. Whereas I'm not sure about people from the army, but navy and sailors are famous for uh, talk having a sort of salty and curse-filled
Well, there are
debate.
shows when I first started, there were some shows where they'd say, we don't care what you do for language. As you do those shows, you just like if you're in India, the guy booking you, you kind of get if you're smart, you kind of get a feel for what are they looking for because you don't want to get fired. You want to get in there again. But a clean comedian can work in more places than a dirty comedian can.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I've always been clean. I haven't. There's shows, especially I've done some of the military ones where I was, I'm sure you could find stuff out there where I'm not. But I mean, it's something I really try to do now. But it did get me the work. The work they saw me was doing clean comedy, and then they'd say, hey, keep this one.
Right.
Keep this one clean. The colonel is whatever, and yeah. And if you don't have to work dirty. It's not And sometimes they I find the closer you are to where the action is, the less they care what you're doing.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Because
And,
they just want their people to get a laugh. They don't care how you do it.
wow.
Yeah.
And
I remember
I-
seeing a lot of WWE wrestlers touring the war hit places like Afghanistan and some other places. So I used to think okay, these people are only literally are into wrestling a lot, but this was new to find out that they were into comedy as well. So what used to happen after the shows? Did you get to hang out with the colonel and other?
Well, as often as we could, we would try to meet as many people as we can and shake their hands and thank them for their service. And so it all some you might be doing, in some places we'd be doing 3 bases a day. Sometimes you'd be on one base stuck for a week. In Kyrgyzstan, we got stuck there for a week, and we're walking around, and the people are like, "You're still here?" But sometimes it's like they're literally like, "You got to go. We got to get to the next."
Right.
it is surreal to see a comedian after a comedy show because when a comedian is on the stage, he is putting out punchlines every 10 or 15 seconds. And when he's off stage, he is just a normal person. It's quite,
Well,
quite an experience.
that's why I think musicians always do better with the ladies,
Yeah.
because if you come off stage as a comedian and you want to meet someone that you're attracted to, you got to be funny until you're married. You can't stop. You got to keep delivering, because when they realize, oh, he's just funny on stage, he's like, he's just like, he has no superpowers, at the grocery store, they ditch you quick,
Yeah. So,
Oh, my.
so is that how you met your wife? After a
I
show?
did. I met her in at the Comedy Connection at Faneuil Hall in Boston, and
Wow.
happy ending. She stayed with me,
Oh,
and she's very funny too. By the way, she's very funny.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
You had some very good wife jokes as well. I remember, when you were here
Oh,
in
yeah.
India. Yeah.
Well, it's a great outlet for a married guy because you can. No other guy in the world has an outlet where you can. Something happens and you're angry about it. She said, and I said, and she said, and I said, and in your comedy joke you can win the argument, but in real life you never really do.
Yeah, right. Just how
So it's-
Bilber as well,
Yeah.
right? So in the
Yeah,
Bilber,
yeah.
when
So
you see him
in the
talking
joke, you can win the
yeah,
argument.
Yeah, he will win the argument. But when he's doing the podcast,
I'm writing my own dialogue, so of course I'm genius in the
Yeah.
Yeah, but when he's doing the podcast with his wife, he never argues with her on anything. Like if she says it's not right, he says, yeah, okay, it's not right.
It's funny. Like I used to do I forget what the joke was, but it was something about I dated my wife for 12 years before I asked her to marry me, which was way too soon, right? But she saw that, she said, we only dated for 11 years.
This
She
is
goes,
so
you need to
amazing.
get it right. It was 11, not 12. I'm like, It's really not going to affect the joke, but okay.
So, like, I just wanted to let you know that you have been a huge inspiration for me. Like, the day I met you, like after that, whenever I want to do a like when I'm hosting a gig, so I sometimes a lot of times I will listen to your sets, like on YouTube to go on stage
Oh,
before going on
wow.
stage. Yeah, because I listen
I'm
to you.
so flattered.
Yeah, I get into that mode, like crowd work thing.
You can't get a better guy to listen to than me.
I do sometimes other comics as well, but like I have seen you work in front of
Okay,
me,
well,
so it was.
I'm very flattered by
I'm,
that.
by the way, better is still quite subjective. The jokes are so well written. I don't
It
know if
blows my mind that people in India are watching my comedy. You got to be the two
Lo-
guys, right?
no, no,
Out of
no.
out
There
of
are a
a
lot of
billion
people.
people, you're the two that watch me
You know,
over there.
right now, people are saying here drive by comedy. They're typing in the chats.
Oh, they've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people have seen it actually. So today, when I shared this story on my Instagram, around 5 people have texted me. Oh, we have seen him on drive by comedy.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I'm actually we're working on. I have another dry bar special kind of written out, and I'm just trying to get. They said they're gonna. I think they're gonna try to get me in the schedule next year to shoot it, which I looked at as a good thing. They were like, we got this year already booked, but we'll try to get you next year. I was like, that gives me more time to get it together because you're never happy with what you got to go
yes,
with what you got, and it could always be better. I always
yeah.
feel that way. I feel like I wish I just had another 30 days to write this and
But
try
like
it out.
your special is like 30 minutes, right? Or 30,
34 minutes something
34.
or
Yeah, well,
43
you guys know
minutes.
it better than me, but I'm not sure what they're going to ask of me the next time because I've heard rumors they want 45 minutes, but I'm hoping. I think 30 is better because who wants to listen to anybody for over 30 minutes? I don't care who you are.
No, I mean,
Nah,
Right? It's like you don't have the
no.
attention span anymore. I don't think, but it's not my choice. If they
I,
want 40, 45, I'll do 45. For me,
So
that one of the blessings for me is I have when you can do crowd work, you can fill.
right.
It's like you're making a meal. You can add more bread and rice into it, and less everything. Like not that I'm saying it's less than because sometimes that's the funny part, but you
Yeah.
can.
So one of the
A
guys.
funny thing about
Mhm,
that dry bar, especially,
mhm.
they didn't know I was going to do crowd work.
Oh.
what?
No,
Okay.
they didn't. They hired me. I sent them a 10-minute video of me just doing comedy, and this is early on. They hired me because I did the cruise ships.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And so I knew I did crowd work, but I didn't want to tell anyone because I thought they're not going to hire me. I wanted the gig. So because they paid me pretty good and they flew me out to Provo, Utah. And I was like, I'll do it.
Mhm.
And no one asked me, so I didn't volunteer anything. I'll be there. So I do the first show. They taped 2 in a night, and I lit them up. And I just went
Uh-huh.
right into the crowd, and they had like 5 cameras.
Oh, right,
And
right.
then I go into the green room where you're changing and stuff. Forgot to tuck my t-shirt, my shirt in. But anyway, the director goes back. He goes, "You talked to the audience." I go, "Yeah, it went great, right?" He went, "We didn't know you were going to talk to the audience." I go, "But it went great, right?" He went, "But we didn't know you were going to do that." I go, "Oh, I mean, everybody knows I do crowd work. You didn't know that?" He goes, "No." I go, "But you got it in a can. It went awesome, right?" He goes, "Are you going to do it the second show?" I go, "Why not? You already got one in the can." So I thought they're never going to use me again, but it worked. He had it, and actually the second show is the one that they used. And if you notice that one, I did less of my material because I thought, well, let's just see
Mhm.
what happens.
So that special is two shows recorded in one, right?
No,
No, no.
it's all at once shot, but they
Okay.
shot 2
Wow.
separate ones. They were going to decide which one they were going to. They asked
Uh-huh.
me which one they wanted to use, and I said use the second one. But it's all one show. It's not 2
Wow.
shows mixed in. It's one
Wow.
show.
Wow.
Wow. That's
But
like
yeah, I mean they had a heart attack after the first show. I would love to see the video from this first show because I had a lot of good original crowd work in that I'd love to put. I'm just started putting little. I got permission from them to put little jokes up now,
right, right.
so I
Yeah.
just started putting them back up, kind of leading into, and then I'm gonna be at McCurdy's at the end of March, and they have like a 4-camera possibility of a shoot there, so I'm gonna try to shoot
Mm-hmm.
2 separate 45-minute different
Wow.
shows, and I'm
So
gonna
how
try to
much
do. I'm trying to get
material
it.
Do you
Do you
have?
guys get serious? Do you guys get serious satellite radio there?
No.
No, but probably any satellite radio station might be streamed over internet.
Yeah, it's big over here anyway. But I'm gonna try to. There's a new record company that I'm actually gonna be a small owner in.
Oh
It's
wow,
called
congrats.
Big Comedy Records, and we're gonna try to shoot the first. I'm gonna try to not shoot but record 2 albums,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll record the first one, and then 6 months later record the second one, and then I could do like an all crowd work one while I try to
Wow.
write up the third. I'm just thinking like, how can I get ahead of this treadmill of content? I need to
Right, right.
I
So
need to
you
have.
are slowly getting
Wow.
into this thing. You're like you're gonna put more content out, right? Because
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm trying. I mean, yeah. I mean,
finally I have been
um,
waiting for it for so long. By
yeah.
the
Well,
way,
it.
we have two
The thing is,
questions.
though, the first one did pretty good, and I don't want to like drop the ball the next time they see me because they'll just put me in
Yeah.
mothballs after that.
Wait a, se-
So we
wait
have
a
two
second.
questions from our viewers. So
Hmm.
first is so one guy is just saying that his name is Arcane Arcade. So he's saying, "Oh my God, I just assumed he's a dry bar comedy guy based on his looks,
Based on my what?
Based
looks,
on your lips.
On
I
my
did not.
nose?
how you look."
Looks.
On my
And
look?
yeah,
He's just racially profiling you, is he? What the
yeah, yeah. So starting like I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, I used to think driver comedy is only for like old comics, like who do clean.
Yeah.
heck?
Well,
Abbe yaar.
you know why that is, because they dry bar is they're
Mhm.
very clean. It's owned by Mormons, and it's very
Oh,
clean
Oh,
language.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
I don't know if I'm talking out of school here, but they want uh, very clean material, and so they hired a lot of us off of cruise ships. So in cruise ships you have to have one show that's family friendly. There could be kids in the room,
uh-huh.
and you
Right.
still can do your act. So they knew that going to that market, they could find people. And so a lot of the older comedians, like myself, are working on cruise ships.
Oh, I
So
didn't
they're
know.
like, oh yeah, yeah. So they look at your resume and they go, oh, this guy's working, for Royal Caribbean and Carnival,
Uh-huh.
and so he's got 45 minutes if he needs it that he can do clean.
Oh,
And
right.
that's what
So
started. That's where they
you
and
also
that
talk about the cruise shows in your set as well, right? In the special.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a great joke actually. So
What's that?
And
that was
that
a
was a
great joke.
great joke. I mean,
So
when
one
you
more
say,
question. So one more
yeah.
question also like from the same guy. Can someone be a great comedian with zero stage time? Uh,
I've never heard of it.
I
same.
mean,
And last question is
I mean, they could maybe do video sketches where they'd be very
uh-huh.
funny, but to be a
yes.
stand-up comedian, you need to be on stage all the time, as much as you can.
Right. So next question is, have you met Doug Stanhope? Like that's the last question.
No, I've never met Doug Stanhope. He grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts, but he was never, to my knowledge, part of that like the Boston scene. He went right out and made his own way and wrote
Yeah.
his own stuff.
Like
I went to the Chicago Comedy Festival where
mhm,
he was once. I don't think I met him, but I do think I saw him
mhm.
there. But he was back then. Even back then, he was really funny.
Yeah, his venues for the specials are really different as well. Like normally you recognize the store or the place that the guy is performing who's releasing his special, but like with this Doug Stanhope, it seems like a makeshift place where he's shooting his special. Like a lot
Well,
of
we had him at the Boston Comedy Festival. He had a show he did, and it was like in a rock and roll club. It wasn't
oh
a
wow.
comedy show. So he's kind of built his own career. He doesn't need to
Right,
Yes.
go to
comedy
the
clubs.
Chuckle Hut, or whatever they call it. He doesn't have to go there
Yes.
because he can go to somebody that books, a place that books rock and roll bands or
Mhm.
whatever. I don't know what, it could be anything. And his fans will find him and they will come. They'll stand. They don't even have to sit. They'll stand there. And it's an amazing
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
phenomenon
different.
what he does. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Jim, may I ask, how did you get into comedy? I
Mhm.
mean, now we have YouTube. Now we are able to see people across the world. What was happening when you were there and internet was not mainstream yet? Probably invented, but in DAPA or something like that. Uh, um, how did
Well,
you get into comedy?
first of all, thank God they didn't have YouTube because I was horrible when I started, and I would not want that video out there because I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, we just started. It's funny. I was watching we had a guy David Letterman on TV, and he had a guy Richard Belzer who had written a hardcover book how to get into stand-up comedy. I don't know if that's the exact title of it, but he said he had printed the names of the clubs in the back of this small book. That's how few clubs there were. And I said to my brother, I go, let's go to the bookstore tomorrow. I want to buy that book because I loved watching comedians on TV. So we go to the bookstore, and sure enough, there's this book. And in the back is printed these pages. And at that time, I lived in Connecticut. And they had a place, Billy Jack's Comedy Club in Glastonbury, Connecticut. I couldn't believe it. I thought all the clubs were either in LA or New York. And now here's one that's 20 minutes from my house. So I just started going. And they had an open mic night. And, that was the beginning of it all.
How young were you then?
I was in my 20s. I don't know how old I was, 27 maybe or something. Yeah, I was old for starting.
Yeah.
And what was your initial intention to do comedy? I mean, I entered in it because I thought comedians get girls, but
Really?
now,
Well,
yeah,
that was a big
yeah,
mistake.
Yeah.
yeah,
How's that working out for you?
not working at all. I'm still single. So that's not working, but that's how I entered. Then intentions evolve. Now it is more introspective.
Well, people thought in my family, everybody thought I was crazy because there was no job that was being a comedian. That wasn't a thing. And it's certainly if you were a comedian, you would be someone who lived in New York or LA. So, they just thought I had a nervous breakdown. They were like, "What are you doing? You're going where?" Yeah.
Do you need to say
And
something like we can talk, right? You can talk to us.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of jobs, so it's something you did after your work or around your work to start with. And then they started paying me, and I'm like, why am I going to work?
oh my goodness.
So one
And
of our viewers is saying you are an inspiration for late starters comedian. Now I'm gonna delay my start for you.
Good, more stage time for us.
Yeah.
and has I mean
So
your act.
how do you grow in comedy in like Boston? Like what's the hierarchy there? Like you first get to open mics, then you get open spots, or like which clubs were very famous at the time that you
Yeah,
wanted?
I think you got to start just getting on wherever you can.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a good question for me because I'm not in that world anymore. I try my stuff out as I work a lot. I don't go to the open mics, although I probably should. Cards on the table. But from what I can see, they have a whole scene, and I saw this in Chicago, and I saw this in Toronto when I was up there years ago. They have a whole network of, and they have great comedians coming out of there too, by the way. But a network of open mics, and that's the great thing about the internet now. You don't have to go to a bookstore. You can go to the internet and say, "Where are comedy open mics?" and we'll tell you. And then you just go out, you hang out, and in a weird way, those are kind of like your primary friends that you hang out with. You're going through the same things together of
Yes.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So you still have friends from that time, like when you started doing comedy?
Oh, sure, yeah, yes, I do, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And those are
And
like your best friends, like those are the guys you know.
uh-huh.
You,
So
you
Yeah.
share
yeah,
all the difficult times. So
yeah, like when you met me at in Bombay only, at that time I think you told me like you have been doing comedy for 30 years, right? Like our scene is
Yeah.
not that old only. Like in India, it's like only 20
Yeah.
years. We even
Yeah.
had Jim so you were there, and what's the other guy's name that we had on our podcast, the
when I
Australian
come,
comedian?
when I,
Ha,
Mick Dwyer.
Mick Dwyer as well. He was also like 30 years into the scene. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have spent a very long time doing comedy. So what
Yes.
motivates you, like even today, that you want to pursue it?
Well, I'm old. I used to go on horseback. It was very.
Like the
Wait a minute,
Western
I didn't
movies.
get it.
he
Okay,
was
fine.
just
We didn't
making a
have
joke.
cars when I
Yeah,
started. We didn't have
yeah.
cars, and
अबे
there's no
यार
telephones.
अरे नहीं यार but still I mean I see a lot of people do get burnt out by comedy.
Uh-huh.
They a lot of people start and leave comedy, and
Yeah.
what do you get out of comedy now that you're still doing it? Of course, apart from money, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, but it's the thing is you got to enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm.
You got to enjoy writing and performing the material, and that's got to be kind of your focus. And also, the other thing that burns people out is they look at other people's success and they're like,
Yeah.
"I'm funnier than that guy. Why am I not getting what he's getting?"
Exactly.
And that's you're not gonna last long because there's not a set amount of success. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So the success is you're doing something you enjoy. That's your
Mm.
success. Be
Yes.
grateful for the things you get. Like I got to go to India. You think a guy like me bartending in Connecticut and working construction in Connecticut was ever going to go to India or ever go to Ireland or or
Uh-huh.
for the military? I went to all these countries: Greece, Germany, Iceland, Iraq, Afghanistan,
Wow.
Bosnia, Kosovo.
Yeah.
Then I do cruise ships. I go to Chile. I go to
Mm-hmm.
the Cayman Islands. I go to Hawaii. So it's like Japan. I went to Japan with the military.
Wow.
Korea.
Wow.
So I mean I've seen a lot of the world, and
Yeah.
comedy's brought me there. So
Damn, you have been to so
I should
many
be thankful
places.
for that, right? I should be
Right.
thankful for that, right? I should be so like Bill Burr started 2 years after me in Boston,
Uh-huh.
right? And should I be mad at Bill Burr because he's so amazing? Or should I be like, hey, the fact that I think if Bill did a show in Boston for a fundraiser for a friend of ours,
Mm-hmm.
and he invited me to go. He called me, he reached out, called me, and I was like, that's so amazing. And he's such a good guy that he hasn't changed much, and I'm not Bill Burr, but I'm a working comedian. I'm doing what I
Mm-hmm.
love, like so I'm winning.
Yeah.
And if I get blessed someday with more success, that'd be great. But if not, the lights are on. I got to pay for my Wi-Fi. I'm not hungry, right?
Right.
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 Yeah.
So and
Now,
So, so that charity show, was it for Patrice O'Neill or like some other thing that you?
it was a guy we started out with, Wayne Previty, who passed away.
Oh.
But he's not a famous guy, but he's a great guy.
Uh-huh.
He's a Boston guy, and Bill, being Bill,
Mm-hmm.
did a show to celebrate him in Boston with his family there and everything at the Wilbur Theater. I think it's like
Yeah.
1,200 seats or something, which Bill fills up by sneezing. He just says he's going to sneeze in there, and people buy tickets to watch him sneeze. That's how famous he is. But he called a bunch of Wayne's friends and stuff. Like I wasn't on that show,
Mm-hmm.
but I just went to hang out, and a lot of the guys that Wayne used to hang out with. I mean, I knew Wayne pretty good too, but I was just glad to be in the room and have that like comedy fellowship with old friends. It's just a wonderful miraculous. I ran it. Me and Joey were working in Dublin, and they had the Dublin Comedy Festival, and Bill was working the big tent at their show, and I forget how we connected, but he was very cool. He's like, yeah, stop by, and they had usually the Irish comedians would get me a laminate, so I'd be O'Reilly or something when I went in
Uh-huh.
there.
Right.
But they invite us in, and he's just one of those rare guys that it has he's just a
Yeah,
good.
he hasn't changed
He's
at
still Bill
all.
Burr. He's
Yeah,
not.
change at all. Like even like I
I,
do listen to his podcast a lot. So recently, this Luigi guy who got famous for murdering that CEO of some healthcare company, right? So there was
Right.
a rant by Bill Burr about him, and then like I have seen like we all follow Joe Rogan Experience as well. We follow or the podcast, like even the Andrew Schultz and all. So they try to like sometimes they get away from a topic. They don't speak a lot about it. But Bill Burr is like he is totally like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Even he's
no,
like I just
Yeah.
saw his video about criticizing Elon Musk as well. So
no.
uh-huh.
Here's an interesting thing. I've Now Jim does family-friendly material, and Bill Burr is extremely political.
Hmm.
That is a spectrum, and I'm curious. of course, there are hard times before there will be hard times somewhere at some point of time. I'm curious, Jim, uh, would you, what would make you do political material, or what would make you uh, do continue family friendly material, or the news I read
I
about,
mean,
yes.
I get jokes all the time. You know, they pop in your head because if you're doing this, you're writing. So writing is writing, and you want to. So like this is now an old joke, but it's like I read somewhere that the average person sheds about 8 pounds of dead skin per year, which is
Oh
why it
yeah,
takes 25 years to get rid of a congressman.
congressman.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
That's
just
a
amazing.
political joke, but it's not. It's not. I don't say which
Yeah,
congressman,
which congressman, right?
Yes,
and everyone in the audience thinks it's the one they hate.
Yeah.
yes.
So they all laugh,
This,
right? I haven't picked a
yeah,
team, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think Bill's that way. I think Bill, on a larger scale, is doing the same thing. He may have a criticism of Elon Musk, but a month from now, he might have a really funny thing about how great his rockets are or something. You know, like
Right, right,
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
This
that's
is
how it
so
should be,
amazing.
like you should not judge people on their, where they are leaning. You just have to like judge them on the work they are doing at that time, right? Like for example, if I'm not being funny
Yeah, you
today.
know what I remember now is kind of funny. I went to that. Is it called the Victory Arch in Mumbai, where
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
Uh,
down?
yeah, the
Yeah, they
gateway of
built it
India.
for yeah, and so another funny moment that popped in my head is people were lining up and they wanted to get pictures taken with me, but not because I'm famous, because I'm
yes,
6'6" white guy,
Yeah.
and
yes.
I was like, it might as well have been like Bigfoot or Sasquatch was standing there. They were just.
If if you had said you were from the
They're like, look
world,
at this freak over here.
Yeah.
yes. In India, if I did not have any sort of
Like
privilege,
why
I would have
why
also lined up to take a photo with the person who has come up from the other side of the world. I mean, so, yeah, that would have been so. That is
yeah,
so
like in
amazing. And
India it's a people are crazy about not getting pictures. Like even you could have just charged them. Like these days foreigners who come to India, they
I should
just,
have done that. I could
yeah,
use the money.
they just charge them, like okay, like I saw
yes,
a reel recently for from a Russian girl. So she was in Goa and she was charging everyone for like 500 200 rupees for a picture, and people were actually lining up and giving her the money, and she was doing it
Oh,
for fun.
great.
But people were really
yeah.
serious. They
So
were like,
$3 to $6.
yeah. But so no man, like Jim is married, so one of the guys is chatting any luck with Indian girls. Uh, so the
No.
one question they're asking is Bill Burr versus Bill Hicks. Whom do you like more?
Bill Burr or Patrice?
Bill Hicks.
Bill
Oh,
X,
Bill Hicks. Well, you
late.
love them both. I mean, you love them both. It's different flavors, you know. It's
Yeah, totally different flavors.
yeah. I mean,
No, no, no.
there's so many great comedians. You know, it's like I always say, whoever you think is the best, you're right, because
Right.
they make you laugh the most, and you're not wrong. You know, it's not. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
do you like Rockwell paintings or do you like something else? It's like, well, if you like Rockwell paintings, then you're right. That's the best painting for you. You know.
Right.
if you like Leonardo da
One more
Vinci,
question.
that's right.
So, will you hear my version of the same joke? So, one of the subscribers they are asking, we change our whole body in 7 years. So, why are prisons terms longer than 7 years? I have totally changed.
Yeah.
Say that again.
So he's
Uh,
studying that now people change the whole body in 7 years, right? So he has
Yeah.
already been in jail for 7 years. Now he's completely changed. So he should like get out.
Oh yeah, yeah,
there are
yeah.
life
That's right. That's
sentences.
right. That's a good
Yeah,
one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it is. Uh,
I wrote a
Jim,
joke. Charles
yeah,
Manson was a famous murderer. I think he talked his following into murdering people, but he's kind of
yes,
a crazy guy, you know. And
yes.
he's actually died in prison. But my joke was that he got married in prison, and I said,
Hmm.
"Oh, now I never really understood how you could serve 2 consecutive life sentences."
This is so
Wow,
good.
such a clean joke about Charles Manson. Like I have never.
Oh, Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
And I don't even know if I may have only done that joke twice on stage,
Mm-hmm.
but like if I talk to maybe someday I'm talking to somebody and they're a prison guard, that might
Yeah.
pop in my head. You know,
Yeah.
off we go.
this is so good. I mean,
So how was like you went to from Bombay? You went to Delhi, right? After the Bombay show, you which other cities did you
I
go
went
to?
to Delhi, yes, and
Yeah.
the venue is called Hijack,
Oh, okay. You went to
and
Hijack.
Adar Malik was on that show.
Adar Malik, right? Right.
oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
another great
Great comic.
comedian.
Like he sings like parody songs. Like he's known for that. He has made many parody songs, and like sometimes it really works. So we had a room in Mumbai. It's called Antisocial. So we used to do the biggest open mic in Mumbai at that time. Like it was a 150 seater room, and we used to get 150 people, and all the headliners used to just do open mic like new sets. It was not allowed to do any old sets, and Adar would kill the most because he had these amazing songs
Yeah,
written. Like the whole place would just lit up after. Like he used to close
yeah,
the
yeah.
shows.
Song parodies are very powerful because
Yeah.
it's the music and everything goes together, and they can kind of play over,
Hmm.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a very powerful way to
Did you
do
ever like
things.
try to explore other form of comedy, like alt comedy, alternative, like doing a character on stage, roasting maybe? Because you can roast. I feel that like you you can.
Yeah, I just do comedy, I go wherever they put me up, and
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I guess the comedy studio in Cambridge. I didn't go up there a ton, but when I did go up there, I would say that's closer to an alt room
Okay.
feel. But people are people.
uh,
You
Right.
know.
what's your writing discipline like? Okay, this is way too nerdy to ask. Pal, if you can want to
Yeah.
change the topic, you
No, no,
can,
no, no.
but
I even I want to know.
Holy cow! We should be charging people for a comedy seminar right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm
Actually.
sorry
How many
for
how many
that.
rupees can we get for this?
I tell you, if you get
The next
famous,
question
we
is,
will set something.
Hey Jim, I got this idea for a joke. Can you write a punchline for me? Sure, sure. This is a real podcast. I believe you. Yeah, the old fake a podcast and get a guy to write my act for me trick.
I mean, Indians are scammers, so yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we are
I'm
going
on to
off
you
a
now.
different kind of.
I'm on to you
Yeah.
now.
It's okay, but I'm I'm still curious.
Bol.
Uh, what I mean, is the target of your jokes changing now? I'm noticing, of course, a lot of punchlines go towards marriage and everything. Uh, what else is there to explore now? I mean, you have written for 30 years.
I think every day,
Well,
right?
everything, there's uh, Brian Kiley is a friend of mine. Was writer for Conan O'Brien for the whole run of it, and he just wrote for the Oscars.
Oh my.
But he's a great writer, and write monologue. If you go look up Brian Kiley, he does one-liners, and he's, I think, one of
Yes.
the best in the country right now. But also, like they had a writer's strike, and I talked to him briefly, and he said it might even have been online, and he said, "Well, he goes down to the strike and he does all that stuff, but in the meantime, I always wanted to write a novel." So he took that time and he wrote a novel. I mean, I look up to him. I'm like, if I got a week off, I'd probably be, in my sweatpants eating pizza. So,
Oh my goodness. Okay, ठीक है.
if you ever want to look up, here's another Boston Comedy Festival comedy comedian Gary Gulman, right? Gary Gulman's
Yes.
he's put up a ton of information on how to discipline yourself to write and get ideas for comedy, and I think
Wow.
he's a better source than me. I would say
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
looking for inspiration, look up Gary Gulman
Yes, yes.
Okay.
writing
During
inspirations, ideas.
pandemic, he wrote 365 tips, one tip for every day. And I used to follow it religiously until he blocked me.
Yeah, revisit it. Go back to it. Go look it up again. Those are all good ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I type Gary
If I if
Gulman.
I if I if this ever finishes and I get off, I will. I think I should look up that again because we all need inspiration. We all need to keep going. But there's a
Yeah,
ton
yeah.
of stuff to write. I'm working on like a not a comic book, like a graphic novel of stories of things that have happened to me while doing my
Mm-hmm.
crazy career. And I'm working on the next album I want to record by the end of March, and
Oh.
uh, and I'm working on the Boston Comedy Festival, which is
Oh,
in the first week of April. Yeah,
So
so I
it
got
happens
plenty to do.
yearly, the Boston Comedy Festival, and
Yeah, we're in our 25th year
oh
of the
wow.
Boston Comedy
wow.
Festival, and that's March 31st through April 5.
And how did you
So
think of it? Started it like you started it, or like you had other friends as well with you?
I started it.
Mm-hmm.
We did a show up in Montreal called the Boston Tea Party. We're trying to get industry to come see us, and they were saying, we were hoping the festival, the Just for Last festival, would include us, but
Oh.
they didn't. But a lot of people came and saw it and liked it, and they're saying, "Oh, you do the alternative festival." I'm like, "I'm not trying to do an alternative festival. I'm just trying to get seen." So then I was like, "But maybe that's a good idea. Why don't we just do the Boston Comedy Festival?" So we just started, doing it, and
Yeah, slowly like
I'm too stubborn to quit.
In India, this is also happening. Like slowly, we are having Chandigarh Comedy Festival, Delhi Comedy Festival. Like it's recently it has grown a lot. Like every year we have like 5 to 6 comedy festivals that happen in India right now. So we like with you as well. Like how many you have been doing it for 25 years now. So did you do it like right now? Like do you also do it for other comics to like make them show out? Like
Yeah,
help them grow.
the whole idea of the Boston Tea Party was we're trying to get Montreal to come and see us.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy Barry Katz did a show up in Montreal called New Faces, and all the industry went to his show, and they included him in the festival. So I thought, oh, that's because they told me we come to look at people in LA or New York. They weren't coming to Boston, so we thought, well, we'll bring the show to Montreal,
Mm-hmm.
and that so that's how that. And then I thought, well, we'll do a show in Boston, and we'll invite the industry to come here. So that it's all been always to try to promote and get comedy, to get the other comedians. I always found I think it was Zig Ziglar had a statement. He said, if you help enough other people, I'm butchering this, then it'll come back to you. If you give enough other people what they want, you'll get everything you want.
Wow.
Also,
Okay.
I was like really curious about your career because, like, at the earlier, how do you say, when you started, like 20, 30 years ago, there were lots of comics and they, like, who were really, how do you say it, R rated actually. Now, because, like, slowly, like, right now, people are getting cancelled, jokes are getting a bit more, acceptable. Like, it should be not punching down right on anyone. Like these days people are also thinking about that, but when you were there, Patrice O'Neill was there. Like there was a time in US, like, and you could see it everywhere. Like people were make that guy also, like, who made Opie and Anthony. There were,
Well, I mean, when I started, we were looking at acts like Sam Kinison, and we were
yeah, Sam
looking at
Kinison as well.
Richard Pryor, those were the guys. I mean, Richard Pryor was ahead of Sam by about 15 years.
Right.
But George Carlin, those guys all pushed back. I think you're going to see that too. It's a pendulum, and I think people want to see even the woke stuff be challenged. And
Right.
Yes.
it's the comedians are the light in the darkness. They're the ones that are able to. The jester makes fun of the king.
Mm-hmm. I recently
Yes.
saw a
So
clip of Sam.
punching down is one thing, but I think a lot of people, they really were shut down by
All the
Yeah.
moments.
social
Yeah.
media and places where they were turned off. And it was a bad thing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's happening in
I don't
India
work.
as
I
well
don't
right
work
now.
dirty. It doesn't mean I don't work dirty anymore. But it doesn't mean I don't laugh and fall out of my chair at dirty acts that are funny. I mean, I think it's hilarious.
So can we listen one dirty joke from you? Like it will be only on our podcast.
Come on, man. You don't want to ruin one.
I'm trying to
Never
get them
mind.
all back from the internet. I'm not trying to.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I mean,
So I was also asking, after this, you were talking about Sam Kinison. So I recently came across a reel where he was like, did you see that? I think I sent it. So he was on a call with a girl who just broke up with the one of the audience member, And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
He used to do
getting
that in
viral.
his act. He said, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hilarious.
He was like just shouting at her because you were a like he had this thing
Uh,
where he would just shout, like very different comic. I think I don't think anyone else
uh,
had that voice. Like
he was a preacher. He's from a
yeah,
family
he
of
was a
preachers.
preacher.
So
Like
his stage presence was off the charts. Off
right.
the charts. Yep.
I
Even
mean,
Billix was a preacher, I think.
no, no, no,
Oh, I didn't know
believe.
that. I didn't
No,
know that. But
probably not. Probably
Sam,
not. Probably not.
I saw Sam Kinison. I want to say I saw him in Chicago
Oh
at
wow.
their festival. But
And
oh no, it was in Montreal. It was in Montreal.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sam Kinison is definitely counterintuitive. It took a few years to get used to his jokes. For me, it's amazing. Now I can enjoy it quite well. And I don't even know how he developed that voice, that amount of screaming. I'm surprised. A lot of clubs tolerated him. I'm not sure what.
Well, it didn't always go well for him. You know,
Hmm.
people didn't know what to make of him. He was a risk taker, and and a lot of he took a lot of
Yeah.
shots before, and a lot of times it didn't go well. But he was courageous in that he
Mm-hmm.
was gonna. He had a voice. You know, I think you can become quite famous if 2% of India loves you. You're never gonna have to work another day in your life.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
2%. Same thing in the
yeah.
States. Maybe in India it might be 0.02%. If
Mm-hmm.
0.02% loves you, you're going to be very famous. And if every time you go on the stage, everybody loves you, but they don't remember you, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was
Mhm.
coming to this only because like there was a time where jokes were very uncensored in US, right? So that is also happening in India right now. Like slowly, we used to have a very clean comedy scene, but now these days, like we are all everyone
Right.
wants to do dark jokes, and then they want
Right.
to like
Yes.
now how what do you say that
Sure. Lou.
offensive comedy. They want to
No,
be
blue
offensive on
material.
stage.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So and recently we had a controversy here because so we have our own version of Kill Tony here in India. Like we have two versions of Kill Tony. If you do you know anything about it? Like have you heard?
Yeah, we had Kill Tony before COVID. We had them at the Boston Comedy Festival.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
but
Yeah.
I mean, we can't afford them now. They're too big. They're too big. But but it was a great show. I couldn't believe how many. I mean,
Okay.
people from all over the state came to see it back then, and
Hmm.
we just lucked out that we got them before they became too big for us to.
Yeah, so here
You
in
know.
India, we also had a version of Kill Tony. So it was called India's Got Latent, and instead of comics, they had everyone, like anyone. It was just a Kill Tony version of America's Got Talent. And recently, there was a huge controversy. So one of the guests, he did a joke about the parents having sex, and like everyone got like took offense of it, and the show
Right.
got cancelled. And like I was just thinking because like and when I talk to like other comics from our other country as well, they always tell me like this means that scene is growing, like this is a part of the scene, like
Yeah.
where everyone
Yeah.
yeah suddenly come into the light, and people will get will take offense from your jokes, but slowly this will improve the comedy scene only, like
It's just like here we have different music. I'm sure you do too. Like here we have country music, we have rock and roll, we have rap, we have jazz, we have
mhm.
all these different things, and people find what music they want that they enjoy. And like again, just like what I said earlier, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever and that's what happens with comedy. Unfortunately, people will go to a comedy show, and if they don't like it, they'll say, "I don't like comedy." When really, it's like you saw one act you didn't like. It's not,
Right.
because we don't have as defined a lanes as they do in music, where they go. Although now you'll see there'll be a tour of clean comedy, so they'll advertise it, or they'll have dangerous X-rated comedy, so
Right.
you know what you're getting into when you buy that ticket. And maybe that's where the next. I think maybe that's what if you're going to market something, you want to think about that. How they have the moms show, or they'll have all moms and they talk about being a mother, or they have
Yes.
whatever the thing is, that your niche. of the pie, you know.
I just
Yeah, yeah. So, I know there are people, currently the niches are people, there's a very famous comedian here named Sai Kiran, and he markets his comedy as pure veg comedy, which is clean comedy in the US. Since India, pure veg is a thing, so his jokes are called pure veg jokes, and families love. Let us say if there's a person who does X-rated jokes, he watches it by himself or two people or three people. For family-friendly material, often large groups of families show up, and I think that is quite smart business-wise. It,
right.
he can perform anywhere. He can
Right. That's
and
right.
uh, now that I'm noticing it, uh, of course, there are good X-rated jokes. Nothing against them, but
Sure.
family friendly material often uh, scratches and reaches deeper insights, or that's what I'm currently feeling right now. That now you're going to see the same old things, and once you watch them again and again, you're going to notice something new about them. So they the the people who are doing clean jokes earlier, I thought the jokes were cliche, but over time the insights have gotten deeper, and it's surprising.
Well, yeah, it's all about freedom. You get to write, star, and play in your own one man show. You got control of all of it. So take control of it. And if you're starting out, you might not have your voice. It takes some time. I'm still my
Yeah.
not only am I looking for my voice, it's changing. You know, the way I look at the world than when I was in my 20s. I don't
Yes.
see everything the same. And so everybody does that. It's all good. So
So what were your jokes like when you were 27? If in hindsight.
I don't remember in the 1900s. Are you kidding me? I don't remember that far back. Mm.
uh,
I didn't appreciate my hair. I would appreciate to get that back. I wore less hats. I didn't have this. I look like
uh,
Gandalf, right?
I- Gandalf had a longer beard. I'm assuming. Never mind.
Well,
I
you
don't know
can't
enough
you
about
can't fly and
basketball.
coach with a beard that long. You get caught in the chair in front of you.
So, any
Uh,
other interesting story from India when you were here? Like any other shows that you did?
oh yeah, yeah. You were going to tell me how you connected with the audience. You wrote the jokes. I get that. And find what made the
Well, it's,
penny
it's
drop.
it's there's always a way. Same in Ireland. You find a way, like you just start to connect with them and develop what's what your common ground is. In Ireland, it's a well, they I didn't know what they were talking about. When I was making fun of people in the audience, and the guy says, "I love the way you take the piss out of fellas." And I'm like, "What is that?" And he goes, "You take the piss out. You're a good crack. You take the piss out of fellas." I'm like, "I didn't realize I was taking the piss out of fellas. That wasn't a goal of mine, but you seem to be happy about it, so I will continue to do that if at all possible."
By the way, this is surprising. You are Irish, Irish American,
Yeah.
and yet you had such a huge disconnect. I mean, not huge disconnect, some sort of disconnect where when going to performing in Ireland, that's quite.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because I didn't grow up there. So like I can go down
Oh,
south. I can go into the
okay.
south of the United States and it's different culture. LA is different
Mm,
you know, than Cleveland.
right.
Very
Wow.
different, so it's all different. These are big and I bet in India you would say the same thing. Delhi is probably different than Mumbai and
Yeah.
Yes.
so these are big land masses and people have different cultures.
So I have listened
Um,
like a lot of like podcasts from America, like comics who are doing podcasts in America. They always talk about being on tour, like being on the road. It's a thing there. So like, what does it mean? Like, do they like go to every state and perform? Like, how is touring feasible
Yeah,
in.
I mean, I think it used to be years ago. You didn't have to be so famous to tour
Uh-huh.
because there was a lot of comedy clubs. You would just headline and travel around from city to city. And now it's changed a little bit, but they're still doing it. It's I think the more famous acts tour more because there's more money in it. You know, they go
Uh-huh.
theater to theater, and you have to be a draw. You have to be able to, you know, if you're going to headline now, you know, the clubs are looking a lot more to you to. You know, you guys are look how discerning you guys are about your comedy. You know
Hmm.
as many U.S. acts and as probably way more British and Irish acts than I do
Right. Like,
from because of the internet. So
yeah.
you're a fan, you know, you're a fan of somebody from Australia that maybe I never heard of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. So it's all good. It's just you know it's different.
So, you have also like been on road, like traveled through the states and
Yeah, I've
performed it
traveled through
as.
the states back in the day. I don't now, like for instance, now I'll go down to McCurdy's at the end of this month, which is
Uh-huh.
in Sarasota. I'll stay there for 5 days in a condo that they provide. Um,
So,
uh,
were you moving in your own car? Like, because I mostly hear stories
I'll
of.
I'll fly down there. I'll rent a car,
Uh-huh.
but that's not my norm. I mean, my norm is I work when I'm not on ships or I'm not. I just somebody called me about doing more military stuff. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but those are, you know, those tours are they book
Hmm.
the whole thing. You know, just like when I went to in India, they paid for the flight and they brought me once I got in Mumbai, you know, they were and we started, we got going. Like, you know, it was like I got to, you know, we do the show in Delhi. Right after the show, we're going back to the hotel. Next morning, we're getting into I didn't see very much of Delhi. I saw the airport, the place I performed, and the airport.
Wow.
You know, and I wish I had seen more. But when the people start bringing you around to do comedy, they
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to spend an extra day in the hotel
Yeah.
and around. You know, well, I wrote down. Oh, there's a place me and Vinayak went. We went to Kahari Caves.
The Kalahari Caves.
Uh,
Yeah, you heard of it?
oh,
Yeah, I think
oh,
we have.
It was really
oh,
or
yeah.
Mumbai. 'Cause in Mumbai, we were there for a couple of days. We actually got to go there, and they had
Oh,
I
it
think
is. Wait
they
a
had
second.
leopards there. We never saw the leopards, but they had these
Oh,
caves that were like 5,000 years old, and
Wait,
uh,
is it Ajanta Ellora Caves? Maybe.
what's the name
I'm
of
just.
it?
maybe I spell it wrong. It's Kaheri.
Uh, I'm checking. I'm checking. I'm checking. Uh,
Anyway, so
Yeah.
but
I mean, that's the stuff I love. I got to see these beautiful caves and walk around, and um,
Yeah,
it
Kanheri,
was
Kanheri Caves. Yeah, it's
Kanheri.
near.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
missing an N in there or something.
It's in the forest of Sanjay Gandhi. Oh, dude, these
oh
pictures are
yeah.
amazing.
And we went to a couple. Got to see go to a couple museums there
Uh
in
huh.
Mumbai. It was beautiful. We went to the world's largest outdoor laundry.
Oh yeah, the
Oh
Vighat.
yeah. We got.
Yeah.
I never thought I would, you know, like
How was
I
it?
never thought I'd travel someplace and want to go watch people do laundry, but we did. We
Yeah,
went
it,
through a lot of traffic to get there. I was like,
yeah.
wow, so this is a lot of laundry.
Right.
It is amazing visual to see. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, India
yeah,
has many
I.
markets like this. Like even with spices, they have a different spice market. If you go inside it, you will just start smelling haldi and all turmeric basically, and the smell of the masalas are in the air. And then like this, we have markets for electronics as well. They are just selling it. Like
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
think
I
earlier,
bet.
like yeah, they like it's very like it's almost like a mall, but of the same things. Like it's almost a IKEA
That's
store.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So,
did you have a guide as well there in the caves that you visited, like, or just you and Vinayak? You just went there because in India,
Yeah, we
guides.
went there. There was they had a little tour. You got on a little thing. It drove you through the woods. They had like I think they had lions and tigers in cages, but they were saying that they had wild. I believe it was leopards. It could have been cougars, but I think it was leopards.
Leopards, okay.
it was leopards. It was
Which,
leopards.
by the way, is crazy because like they have a wall, and then there's all these people living on the other side of the
Yeah.
wall. It's like I'm not sure, you know.
There are
Yeah,
many
yeah,
videos of
yeah.
it, you know.
How
If you
often do
Yeah.
leopards jump the
a
wall and
lot of times,
grab somebody?
Lot
a
of
lot.
times there are
All the time.
CCTV.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
There are videos
There
on
are CC.
internet. Like you would see if you just search Mumbai leopard, and you will see huge number of videos. Leopards coming in, hunting their dogs. There's a video where the dog is sleeping just
Crazy.
like this, and then the leopard comes and he just sniffs the dog. You know, like they are so close, and the dog doesn't know only like there's a leopard
Yeah.
in right in front of it,
And
and he
the
suddenly.
dog doesn't know he's going to be lunch.
Yeah, and
Yes.
he was
You know,
lunchtime.
the only thing we got that's close to that in the States is in Florida. They got alligators.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right.
And in
So,
Florida, if you got to be careful with your alligator in the backyard, because if you tie that thing, you're tying out,
Oh.
yeah,
dinner for somebody.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
gator will come up and drag them
Yeah,
back into the
yeah.
water. You
It
got to
will
be
be
Oh,
like,
careful.
yeah.
yeah, self-service.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. That is so scary and heartbreaking, actually. But yeah, by the way,
Mm-hmm. Bolo?
we are already closing
Yeah,
on to
yeah.
1 o'clock
1 hour.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You've had
So,
enough. I've had enough.
no, 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 no. I was, no, no, no,
I
no,
feel
no,
like we all
no.
got to chip in and pay rent after this. Like a roommate. We talked about laundry, right?
Yeah, yeah, we talked about laundry. Now, who does the cooking? That's the next question.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are going to do chores.
Okay, so last
Oh,
closing.
I was going to tell you about my trick to not get food poisoning in India.
Yeah,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
yes, remember, right, right.
Oh,
When I
come
when
on.
I he'll tell you this story. He tells it funnier than me, but it's true. Uh, I was kind of the first motel they put in me. I said, just put me in a decent hotel and get me business class because I need the leg room. And of course, I didn't get either. So first place they put me in had bed bugs, and I
Oh,
went right to the
Wow.
front. Went right to the front desk. And I said, I need to check out of here. There's bed bugs. The guy says, how do you know they're bed bugs? I go, because they're bugs and they're in the bed.
I hope
There's
they
no
got your
good bugs in the
jokes.
bed. There's no good. Oh, good. I got ladybugs in the bed. No. So I got right into. That's how I got my first motorized rickshaw ride. I got in there, and I just said, and they said they were going to bring me to. I looked it up online, and they brought me to a different one completely. The one they wanted to bring me to. They probably got a little
Oh.
kickback for bringing me. It was a Marriott. It was beautiful. It was like. So I said, yes, I'm staying here. And I go up every day, and they had like a good breakfast there, and it was
Wow.
wonderful. And I said, I'm going to get you back for this. He goes, why? I go, because every time I order something, you're going to get the same thing. He goes, why? I go, you're going to eat it, and 20 minutes later, if you still feel good, I'm going to eat it. I have my own taste tester. I just watch him. You're still okay in 30 minutes. I'm going to order some food.
This is such an amazing trick. But
And
again,
that's so nice of Vinayak as well. Like that's why I really like Vinayak. He's such a nice person, actually. Like,
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
wait. This plan had a flaw in it. Vinayak's stomach, or he might be acclimatized to India, and he could have had no.
no, it was his first time in
Oh,
India
yeah.
as
It's
well.
not a perfect plan. It's the best one I had, though.
Yeah.
And it was funny to me to have him taste testing for me.
Oh, nice. This is good. This is good. This is good.
Yeah. So, last question before we end this stream. Please recommend us some more comics that our viewers could watch. Like we will like to share now. If you could share
Brian Kine,
more.
right?
Who?
Brian
The,
Kiley. Watch Brian
yes.
Kiley if you want to see
Okay.
very good, disciplined joke writing.
Oh,
Set
yes.
up a punchline. He's on Dry Bar,
Mm-hmm.
but you can just find him anywhere. He's wonderful.
The
There's
the
I mean,
lady.
don't get me started. There's so many wonderful acts out there that I love. We're actually doing. Let me look. I'll see. We're doing a fundraiser
Yes.
for the Boston Comedy Festival for the LA people suffering that got because of the LA
Fires.
fire. They're displaced or they need help, and we're doing that at the Berkeley Performance Center. Let me see if I can. Ryan Hamilton. Look up Ryan Hamilton. You want to see a good joke writer. We're giving him a Comedian of the Year award at the Boston Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look up just because we have 5 acts in that fundraiser that are all all. I mean, look, they've got 22 shows. They're all great. I mean,
Of course, of
it's. Let me see if I can find that fundraiser though, because that's a. If you want to see clean comedy, we have a show called Funny Together,
Mhm.
and those are Christian comedians.
Do you
They're,
also stream these shows? Like you should do that.
Emo Phillips is going to be at the Boston Comedy
Oh
Festival.
wow.
Oh, dude,
Um,
it's a Jack.
okay, so the Boston Comedy Festival benefit Comedy Gives Back is comedians helping comedians.
Oh, wow. We got our
And
first super chat. Someone sent us 30 rupees in a chat. Thanks. Wow, this is the first time that has happened on this, like on the
oh,
first
Thanks,
okay.
episode.
Jim.
Well, you
Wow.
guys got to donate to this
Yeah,
LA thing. Then you got to cough a little bit. Buy 2 tickets from wherever you are, even if you don't go. And you know what I also said to
Mhm.
people? Look, buy 2 tickets. I think it's $25 a ticket. It's not a ton of money. Even if you're
Right.
not going to go buy a ticket or
Uh-huh.
send somebody else. And here's something that all your fan base can do. Share the link. Even if you don't go, share the link, because your social media can help our social media.
Of course,
And
Yes.
definitely.
and so here's a lineup of people you probably never heard of over there that are amazing. Karen Morgan, she has a dry bar special. She's been on CBS.
Yes.
Paul
Okay.
D'Angelo is an amazing Boston comedy festival comic. Dan Bolger won, I think, the second or third Boston Comedy Festival. Dan Bolger's amazing. He was on the Late Late Show. He's on Comedy Central. Erin
Oh,
McGuire,
yes.
I'm telling you, Erin McGuire does everything right. She's funny. Gotham Comedy Live. She lives in New York. She's coming up for this. And of course, Jim McCue. How did I get on the show? It's nepotism. Let's be honest. And then, the whole thing is, I don't know if this is big over there, but the Moth is a big thing in the United States. And Bethany Van Delft
Oh.
is hosts that in Boston, and she's been on a lot of stuff. She was at Boston
Mhm.
Magazine's Comedian of the Year. So if you go to
Yes.
bostoncomedyfestival.com, look it up and just
Sure, sure.
surf the thing. But if you go to Comedy Gives Back, that show that we're doing, the Berkeley Performance Center, that's a music college in downtown Boston. Great
Yes.
venue. And spread the word for us. If you can't afford to buy tickets, spread the word.
Sure.
That's a free
Mhm.
thing you can do that we would really appreciate.
Also, do you also like are planning to stream these Boston comedy festivals? Maybe like you should do that because a lot of
I'd like to. We're gonna, I gotta go. Actually, Friday we're doing our finals. We have Billy Gardell, who's a sitcom star. He's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and Ryan Hamilton, who's a past champion. Ryan Hamilton
Mhm.
sells out theaters all over America. I don't know if you guys know Ryan,
Yeah, we know.
but
We do.
he's amazing. He's super, super cool guy. They're both great guys.
Mhm.
So we have those 2 guys, and Tony V, who's a Boston comedy legend. He opened for Bill Burr at Fenway Park, which is
Oh wow.
where the Boston Red Sox play. He's the first comedian ever to
Wow.
take that stage,
Mhm.
Tony V. So that's all happening at the Somerville Theater in Davis Square, and that's our grand finale, 25 year. That's a history show. That's
Yeah.
all kinds of people are gonna show up for that one.
Yeah, I'm already feeling the FOMO, like fear of missing out thing. So a lot of Indian show, like we started this in doing in the lockdown period, that we used to stream the shows. Like I think the Laugh Factory also did it. They sell tickets online for it, and people can watch it from anywhere. So maybe
Well, I'll have to look into. My only fear of that is I don't want to
Piracy.
spend more money getting the live stream than we raise for
Yeah.
the
right.
fundraiser. For the finals, I may do it anyway because we're going to bring someone in to tape it, and we own the content of that.
Mhm.
But as far as the fundraiser goes, I want to make sure that we don't spend $3,000 or $10,000 trying to live stream it if we're only going to raise $400.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, agreed.
So
is-
I'll ask around. I'll see if somebody can get in there. I don't know. I would love to do it, and I'll have to. And with that one, I got to ask the comedians who are donating their time
Mhm.
if it's okay if they're live stream, because some, as you know,
Yeah.
I know.
especially at this level, they're protective of their material, and they
Of
should
course,
be.
of course.
You know, so.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that was the end of this episode. Yeah.
I didn't think this time was ever coming.
We generally
My beard is longer. My beard is longer.
We have traveled through time.
I'm hungry, and I have to use the washroom. Please
Oh,
let me
my-
go. Please release me.
Oh my God.
So,
All right.
So thanks for coming, Jim.
Thanks for having me. You
It
guys
was
are great. Thank you.
It was
meeting
great
you.
having
Yeah,
Okay.
it's such. And also
Please
do
visit India.
yeah, please if you have another like if you could recommend us some more comics for our future streams, that would be great as well. So yeah.
Oh, I haven't done enough for you already.
You know, Indians, we are greedy, so like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
never
One
enough.
more thing, right? One more question.
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway,
guys.
okay,
It
Chav.
was
Good
great.
night.
It was fun. I do
Please
appreciate it.
visit India.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Bye.